Hello and welcome back. You're listening to Unreliable Sources, your bi-weekly briefing for mystery lovers, thriller junkies, and suspense addicts. I'm Mike Donohue, thriller author and blurb skeptic. Let's get into it. On today's show, we're looking at a major rare books heist that reads like a thriller plot, some exciting adaptation updates from Miami Vice and Bosch fans, plus award news from Scandinavia. We'll run through some massive fall releases from the heavy hitters like Joe Hill and Louise Penny. Then we're exploring why horror, mystery, thriller mashups are so addictive. What happens when you combine puzzle solving with genuine terror? Why do these genre-blending books hijack your brain and ruin your sleep schedule in the best possible way? Plus, as always, I'll let you in on what I've been reading and watching lately. Or not watching, since my TV decided to kick the bucket last week. Let's kick things off with some recent headlines from the crime fiction beat. Modern Mrs. Darcy just published a great piece on horror novels for people who don't really like horror. You know who you are. You want the atmosphere and tension without the graphic violence or nightmares. The list includes some genre-adjacent titles that thriller readers might appreciate. Books that give you the chills without crossing into full terror territory. If you've been curious about dipping your toes into horror but don't want to dive into the deep end, this might be a solid starting point. Links for all the news stories, as always, are in the show notes. The Guardian recently covered an international rare books heist that sounds honestly like it came straight from a crime novel. The Pushkin Job involved thieves targeting extremely valuable first editions and manuscripts across multiple countries. The investigation to unmask these book thieves reads like a procedural, complete with international cooperation, forensic analysis, and the kind of obsessive collectors who make the perfect suspects in fiction, but turn out to be pretty good detectives in real life. If you love capers or biblio-mysteries, this article is absolutely worth your time. In convention news, the location for Left Coast Crime 2027 has been chosen, and it's Santa Fe, New Mexico, which last hosted the convention back in 2011. If you've never been to a mystery convention, they're genuinely fun and great experiences. You get panels, author signings, networking with fellow readers and writers, and usually some excellent local food and color. Santa Fe is a beautiful city with a thriving art scene, so this should be a memorable one. This past week also brought news that The Clues in the Fjord by Finnish author Satu Rämö has won the 2025 Petrona Award for Best Scandinavian Crime Novel of the Year. Judges described it as a sophisticated and atmospheric police procedural. Honestly, those kind of sound like table stakes for any Scandinavian noir, but with a pleasingly unpredictable, dark, and twisty plot. This book was translated by Christian London and published in Britain by Zaffer. As I mentioned before, these award lists are gold mines for discovering crime fiction writers that you might not have heard of yet. It appears that Rämö has a pretty good following, at least in her home country, but I was not aware of her, and she might not have quite made it across the pond yet to mainstream American audiences. This might be an opportunity to check her out. The Clues in the Fjord by Satu Rämö. Now a couple pieces of adaptation news. Miami Vice is coming back. Again. This time not as a limited or TV series, but another feature film. And I'm cautiously optimistic, at least at this early phase. The 2006 Michael Mann film was underrated, in my opinion, though I like most of Mann's stuff, some of it biased. This latest version is slated to be directed by Joseph Kosinski, and Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler are potentially attached to star. If it goes forward, it is tentatively slated for late summer of 2027. As for Bosch fans, more exciting news. Not dead yet. A prequel series called Start of Watch is in development, with Cameron Monaghan and Omari Hardwick attached. This will explore Harry Bosch's early days as a detective as Michael Connelly continues to expand his universe. This will be the fourth series, though this is the first time that an adaptation will not have a book as source material. We've certainly gotten glimpses of Bosch's early days in flashbacks throughout the series, but never a full novel. Now let's take a look at what's new and notable on shelves. Heading into the holiday season, November and December are massive for the publishing industry, and they've come out swinging early at the end of October. A lot of big names launching books lately. First up, speaking of big books, King Sorrow, by Joe Hill. We mentioned this one a few episodes back as something to keep an eye on, but it's now out, and readers are diving into Hill's longest novel yet and his first in almost a decade. It clocks in at just under 1,000 pages and delivers his signature blend of horror and heart. Early reviews suggest this is Hill at his most ambitious, weaving multiple storylines into something genuinely unsettling. If you're a fan of his previous work or just looking for something substantial to sink your teeth into as the weather gets colder, this is the one. The Black Wolf by Louise Penny, the 20th Inspector Gamache novel, and Penny's legions of fans, including myself, know exactly what they're getting. Beautifully crafted characters, scrumptious food descriptions, a comforting return to Three Pines, and a mystery that will make you think. Penny has this rare ability to write books that feel like coming home while still delivering genuine suspense. If you haven't started this series, honestly, don't start here. Go back to the beginning. There are often plot lines spanning multiple books, so this is definitely a series that rewards reading in order. The Last Death of the Year by Sophie Hannah. Another authorized Hercule Poirot mystery, and Hannah continues to prove that she's the right person for the job. She captures Christie's voice without simply imitating it, giving us a new Poirot mystery that feels authentic while still being distinctly contemporary. This one involves a New Year's Eve party gone wrong, a classic setup with modern execution. Speaking of heavy hitters, one of the biggest of all, The Widow by John Grisham. Grisham returns with a courtroom thriller about a widow fighting corruption in her small Mississippi town. Look, Grisham isn't reinventing the wheel here, but he's incredibly reliable. You know what you're getting. Tight plotting, legal drama that makes complex issues accessible, and page-turning momentum. Sometimes you just want something familiar, a solid, well-crafted legal thriller, and Grisham can be counted on to deliver just about every time. Finally, Wild Animal by Joël Dicker. Dicker's follow-up to The Truth About the Harry Cubit Affair continues his talent for intricate plotting and literary mysteries. This swift author has a European sensibility, slower pacing, deeper character work, but with enough twists that I think American thriller readers will stay engaged. This one is a heist novel, so definitely sign me up. I'm a sucker for any heist or caper novel. But if you enjoyed his previous work, this should be an automatic add to your TBR as well. Moving on to this week's feature, why horror mystery thriller mashups are taking over our nightstands and our sleep schedules. You know that moment when you tell yourself, just one more chapter at midnight? Actually, I don't know that either. I'm barely ever awake at midnight anymore. Let's say, just one more chapter at 9 p.m., and suddenly it's 11 and you're so wide awake. That's the horror mystery thriller effect. I'm a sucker for genre mashups, so I've been thinking a lot about why these books are so damn hard to put down. In honor of the end of spooky season, let's run it down. Here's the thing. Mysteries make you think, horror makes you feel, and combining them creates books that hijack your entire nervous system in the most delicious way possible. The mystery side gives you a puzzle to solve, real clues scattered throughout the narrative. Your brain is actively working, piecing together evidence, analyzing suspects, chasing that satisfying aha moment when everything clicks. But then the horror side crashes in and transforms everything. You're not just curious about whodunit anymore. You're desperate to know because understanding might be the only way someone survives. The stakes aren't merely intellectual, they're visceral. Every clue makes things more terrifying. Every scare drives you deeper into the mystery. It's like your brain and your adrenaline glands are both screaming for more at the same time. And there's actual science behind why these books are so addictive. Human brains fundamentally hate unsolved mysteries. We're pattern-seeking creatures, and unanswered questions create genuine psychological discomfort. Add life or death stakes to that equation, the discomfort becomes nearly unbearable. At the same time, we're drawn to controlled fear. Horror provides danger without actual risk. Remember, we talked about this a bit in the previous episode about serial killer fiction. We're able to confront our deepest anxieties about death, violence, and the unknown while remaining perfectly safe on our couches. The mystery structure amplifies this safety even further because mysteries promise answers and solutions. Your brain gets a double hit of neurochemical rewards from these books. Intellectual satisfaction from solving puzzles, emotional release from experience and surviving fear. The genre has surprisingly deep roots. This blend started back with the Gothic fiction in the 17 and 1800s, when they essentially created the template with books like Frankenstein, mysterious circumstances combined with atmospheric horror. But everything really changed in 1960 with Psycho. Robert Bloch's novel and Hitchcock's film proved that human monsters could be just as terrifying as supernatural ones, all within a mystery structure. The investigation follows classic detective story beats, but the reveal delivers pure horror. Then, The Silence of the Lambs in 1991 upped the ante and perfected the formula. Thomas Harris created something that worked as both police procedural and deeply unsettling psychological horror. When the film swept the Oscars, including Best Picture, it proved this genre blend could achieve both critical acclaim and massive popularity. Today, we're living in a golden age. Riley Sager builds entire novels around classic horror setups while maintaining tight mystery structure. Simone St. James writes ghost stories that are simultaneously murder investigations. Silvia Moreno Garcia brings Gothic sensibilities to fresh settings. The genre has never been more diverse or more popular. Now, what makes them work? Not every attempt at blending these genres succeeds. The difference between masterpieces and failures comes down to a few key elements, I think. The best horror mystery thrillers start with a central question that naturally contains both genres. What happened to the missing children? Is a question that demands both investigation and emotional terror. Atmosphere does incredibly heavy lifting. The decaying mansion in Mexican Gothic isn't just a location. It's integral to both the family secrets you're unraveling and the biological horror slowly revealing itself. When setting, mystery, and horror become inseparable, you've got something special. And the revelations need to do more than just answer questions. They should recontextualize everything you've read. Okay, Gone Girl might not be the best example of the genre mashup, but think about how that midpoint twist transformed the entire book you thought you were reading. Beyond providing exceptional entertainment and countless sleepless nights, these books accomplish something genuinely important, I think. They acknowledge that life refuses to fit into neat categories. We're constantly seeking meaning while confronting forces beyond our understanding. We try to solve problems rationally while dealing with irrational fears. These books reflect that messy reality. They suggest that truth can be both discoverable and terrifying, that understanding doesn't always bring comfort. They also provide safe spaces to explore genuinely dark questions. What creates monsters? How do good people fail to see evil right in front of them? The mystery framework makes these explorations feel manageable rather than overwhelming. Most fundamentally, these books satisfy multiple human needs simultaneously without asking you to choose. You get intellectual stimulation, emotional release, and narrative satisfaction all at once, at least if it's done right. It's fiction that respects your intelligence while acknowledging that you have feelings and a nervous system that responds to perceived threats. Yes, you'll lose sleep to keep turning pages. Sure, you'll check your locks at 2 a.m., and you'll probably drive your friends crazy demanding they read a certain book immediately so you can discuss it with them. But what are friends for? If you want a few starter recommendations, I've mentioned some of them already, but I'd definitely start with The Silence of the Lambs if you'd never read the book, Mexican Gothic for gorgeous contemporary Gothic, or The Whisper Man by Alex North, or The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James for something more recent that nails both elements perfectly. All right, let's wrap up with what I'm reading and watching. Right now, I'm reading Michael Connelly's Proving Ground, the 8th Mickey Haller novel, and it might be the most timely legal thriller Connelly's written. The Lincoln lawyer has shifted from criminal defense to public interest litigation and is taking on an AI company whose chatbot allegedly encouraged a teenage boy to kill his ex-girlfriend. On audio, I'm listening to The Wasp Trap by Mark Edwards. I mentioned this one briefly in the new and notable segments a few episodes back, and I'm almost halfway through now. Edwards writes these domestic thrillers that start with a seemingly simple premise, in this case a dinner party among old friends, and then systematically dismantles everything you thought you knew. The narration here in the audiobook is solid, with multiple voice actors bringing the ensemble cast to life. If you enjoyed his previous works, or you're a fan of Ruth Ware or Lisa Jewell's style, this one might be for you. Finally, no updates on what I'm watching because, like I mentioned earlier at the top, my television was broken for most of last week. The screen just decided to die. Honestly, kind of a blessing in disguise. I got more read, got more writing done, and remembered that I don't actually need constant background noise in my life. All that being said, I am looking forward to season 2 of A Man on the Inside hitting Netflix on November 20th. The first season was this lovely blend of mystery, comedy, and genuine heart. Mike Short's fingerprints were all over it in the best possible way. Sometimes you need something warm and funny rather than dark and twisted. All right, that's it for this episode. Let me leave you with this week's question. Do you read horror mystery thrillers? What draws you to that genre mashup? Is it the puzzle solving combined with genuine scares? Or do you prefer your mysteries without the supernatural elements? And if you've got a favorite that nails both genres perfectly, I'd love to hear about it. Drop me a line with your thoughts. You can email me, mike@mikedonahuebooks.com, or find me on Blue Sky @MikeDMystery, or Instagram or Facebook @MikeDonahueBooks. This has been Unreliable Sources. I'm Mike Donohue. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay sharp, follow the clues, and don't trust anyone who skips to the end.